rash on my palms. When I first received that video, I thought it was some kind of cruel prank, a phone recording, laughter in the background, and someone's smug grin at the end of a long Sunday dinner. My name is Maya. I'm 29, and I live in a small apartment overlooking an empty lot and a coffee maker I bought secondhand years ago. I work as a dispatcher at a warehouse, a quiet, invisible job, the kind people forget exists. But I know routes, schedules, and how to fit chaos into numbers. For 4 years, I paid my father's mortgage. Not because I had to, but because I believed, deep down, that maybe one day he'd look at me with pride. $96,000. 96,000 quiet sacrifices. Skipped dinners, canceled trips, sleepless nights. All so my father could have a roof over his head. And then came the video. He sat at the head of the table, face flushed from wine, glass in hand. Vladimir, my father, once a builder, now a master of excuses. His voice sounded warm, but his words sliced through me like glass. She owes us. We raised her. Now she's paying her debt. Who else would give her money? Let her pay. It's the least she can do. The room erupted in laughter. My brother Artem, who used to be my protector, added, "She's always trying to prove something, our personal cash cow." Aunt Lyuba slapped the table like she was sealing a deal. The camera shook with the sound of their joy. Joy at my expense. I watched that video 17 times. 17 times I listened to their voices tear through every reason I had for loving them. 17 times I saw the truth. I wasn't a daughter to them. I was a resource. The next morning, I called the bank. Posing as a relative, I asked about the account. The woman on the line told me sweetly that the mortgage would be paid off in 6 months. 6 months. My heart clenched. All that time, all that effort, for a lie built on my exhaustion. It wasn't anger I felt. It was clarity, cold and sharp as broken glass. That evening, I wrote a letter. Not a scream, not a curse, just facts. Payment records, transfers, dates, screenshots, and finally, the video. At the end I wrote, "There will be no more payments, not out of hate, but because I finally choose to live." Then I sent it to everyone. Relatives, neighbors, people from church, anyone who'd ever believed his act. The chaos that followed was deafening. Phone calls, threats, begging, arguing. Artem showed up pounding on my door, shouting, "You betrayed the family." Aunt Lyuba called me disgusting. But between the noise came something else. Voices I never expected. My cousin Olia, who had always stayed silent, wrote, "I didn't know. I'm sorry I said nothing." And then something darker surfaced. Olia confessed that when she was 15, my father used to come into her room at night and whisper things that made her skin crawl. She never told anyone. He said she'd ruin the family if she spoke. Her confession opened the floodgates. Others came forward. People from the church said he'd told them he was alone, that his daughter had abandoned him, and they'd given him donations. The web of lies began to unravel. Lawyers got involved. His threats turned into silence once the documents surfaced. The church demanded the return of the $48,000 they'd given him as aid. The house, my payments, was seized and auctioned. Each gavel strike felt like a heartbeat I'd lost long ago. At the hearing, he didn't look powerful or proud. He looked small, smaller than the truth standing in front of him. Reporters waited outside, asking if I felt vindicated. I told them the only thing that mattered. Family should mean more than blood. If they humiliate you, leave. Kindness should never be payment for cruelty. He was sentenced to probation and forced to repay what he'd stolen. Artem vanished, clinging to his delusion of loyalty. Olia and I grew closer. We cried. We healed, and for the first time we felt light again. Months passed. I sold my old coffee maker and bought a bus ticket to the mountains, just to watch the clouds devour the peaks. I found a therapist with a soft voice and began writing, not about revenge, but recovery. I started a small online channel for people who'd been hurt by their own families. Messages began pouring in. "Thank you. You gave me courage." Their words became my new currency, the kind that doesn't run out. Olia and I launched a small foundation to help people leave abusive homes. not to punish, but to give them the strength to walk away. When my father died, I didn't go to the funeral. Instead, I wrote a note, slipped it into a mailbox, and watched the sunrise. I realized forgiveness doesn't always mean returning. Sometimes it just means letting yourself go free. My life didn't become perfect. It became real. I learned to say no without trembling. I learned that peace isn't loud. It's quiet, like breathing after a storm. And now, when people ask what I've learned, I tell them this: sometimes you must burn the bridges that lead to your own pain, because not every home deserves to be rebuilt.